Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to the build. We are now on part 12 of our 1350 refit enterprise build, so let's get to work. Alright, I've let this thing dry over the weekend. I still have the rubber bands on it, but before I move along here, I want to get some lenses in the beauty lights. You can see it's just the exposed LED. Before I do anything, I want to get something over that to protect all four of these, and for that I'm just going to put a little drop of canopy glue in there, and then I can mask over that. And that's really one of the things I want to start doing here, is getting masks in all these little windows. Even before I start sanding or anything, I just don't want any dust to get into a impossible to remove place in these windows. Then after masking the windows, we can start to get our strong back in place. I still have work to do on the pylons, which I can sand these things down while I'm waiting for my glue to dry on these lenses. And I've got work to do back here. I want to be getting this in place very soon. I have to paint this and this and this. I just have to mask off these tiny little microscopic things. I'm not sure I'm going to do that, if I'm going to do that with yellow tape, or if I'm going to attempt it with the Tamiya tape. The Tamiya tape is really thin, but I still think it's thicker than these itty bitty little slats we have in either side that are supposed to be blue. So that is on the docket for today. I'm going to start getting my glue in here and sanding and masking. I'll be back when that is complete. Alright guys, I have been messing around with this seam for most of today. I did get all my windows masks. They're hard to see, but they're all masked. But I've been playing around with this seam for most of today. I just added a bunch of model glue in here to act as a filler for when I do my putty work, but I've mainly been sanding. And this is a pretty big step. I still have a little bit of work to do right there, but most of it is gone, and there's some work to do up here by the windows. This is pretty much done up here. I haven't even touched the other side. Been focused on this side today. The one thing that I would be careful about if you do have a step here is getting a flat spot. It is really easy to be sanding here and just flatten this whole area out. As you can see down here, it's not flat. It's a little wavy because I have work to do right here, but it still retains that nice curve, and it retains the curve because I went in here and I started to sculpt this into a curve to match what I was doing up here. See, there's a little flat right in there. I'll have to work on that. So it's basically about retaining this curve here. I did get a little flat in there, but we'll fix that. So we've got model glue in there drying, and once that's dry, I'm going to go in with Tamiya putty, and I'm going to fill this in, and we're going to sand that smooth, and then we're going to come back and we're going to rescribe this line. The one thing that does worry me is I have a gap in my windows, and as we know, this is a clear piece, so we're going to have to be really careful when we fill this little gap in here. Actually, you can see through the gap too a little bit too. That's how big it is. I can see in there. So working around this window, we're going to have to be very careful in here. As I said, I didn't touch the other side yet. This isn't as bad. You can see there's not a lot of gappage around this window. This window is pretty good. And this is still a step, but it's not as bad. So we're just going to sand this down. And it's weird, there's no step, and then step, and then no step. So it did bulge right here. So this side, the port side, won't be as much work as the starboard here. I've also filled in my beauty lights. I got the lenses, that's canopy glue, and it's just drying. Same thing on the side. When this is all dry, I'll go in and I'll mask all these 4 lights off. I think I'm just going to use a little silly putty in there, and that will be that. So I think that's everything I've done on the hull today. I have been working on the neck. Oh yeah, I did this too. I did this. It looks like crap. I'm gonna do it over. It's not very even, so I'm just gonna take the acrylic paint out of here. I think what I'm gonna do is just put a back piece in here that I'm gonna airbrush red instead of doing this. I just did this with a brush and it looks like crap, so we'll have to deal with that later. The other thing I did is drying. Let's grab it. It's the first coat of paint on these little guys. It's still very wet and mushy, you can tell. But yeah, I got those 3 lines masked off on either side. I got black and then just the first initial coat of this gray on here, which I'll be using for gray for the rest of the ship. It's a chalked gray, and it looks pretty darn close to the gray I'm seeing on the ship. It's aged gray, so that's what I'm using for all the gray, or some of it. This I just sprayed with the can. For the detailed parts, there's some. It's not so much in here, but on the nacelles, I'll be decanting and airbrushing it, which is gonna be a lot of fun cleaning that out. I have what's this stuff called? Lacquer thinner. I've got lacquer thinner out in the garage. I'll just clean the brush out with that. So that's where that is. I've also been working on the neck. We're getting really close to getting this neck into position. So I light blocked it. And I went back and I scraped the edges. I don't just scrape the edges, I also score the edges with my knife to promote even better connection with any sort of adhesive you're using. Just score it, rough up the surface. You can also do that with any type of file. Not that file though, we'll use this file. You can also do that with a file, just rough the surface up. Or some high grit sandpaper, which I'm on 100 grit sandpaper. You can also grit it up with that. I just like using the X-Acto because I can get deep recesses with the X-Acto by cutting it like that. The glue will spill in there and it'll melt all together and it'll become a nice, very stable connection. So that's where we are with this one. The other one, I'm starting to put my glass in. I'm not using the kit glass. Just doing my sandwich container thing. If I can get it off the desk. Just cut up a sandwich container. Cleaned it off. Get all nice and clean. And then I've got it glued in there with some canopy glue. And that's just kind of a temp. I'll go back over it with some other glue, with some hot glue. Again, my hot glue is not super hot. It's the low temp stuff, so it won't melt this. And even if it melts it a little bit, I'm just going along the edges here with the hot glue, so it won't be so big. I do have to get that clear piece for the photon emitter out to mark off where I need to cut my holes, because I'll be mounting a couple of red LEDs behind here for those emitters. I also have to mask and paint that one off. The last thing with the neck here, let's get this piece out of the way, is, let's get this down. So these holes, where you mount the neck in, way too small. Way too small. So I had to take, and I had to drill them out. Because otherwise, these things don't fit. Or they'll fit so tight that you will risk trying to get them in there. You might risk just snapping them off. So I just said forget that and drilled them out, and now it fits nice and snug. The gap you're seeing here is because of the rubber band, not because they're not drilled properly. See, just rubber band gap. But yeah, now that fits in there just how it should. So I'm going to wait for that to dry, get back to work on this edge here with my sandpaper, and start filling. I will also, once these dried, I need to put 2 more down here for these windows here. There is a clear piece that goes here for these lights. I'm going to check that out. I may use it, I may not. We'll see. And these lights, of course, are to light up the neck. We got this one back here, the light just kind of goes straight up. This one right here is supposed to be at an angle and kind of angles its way up the neck, like so. So we'll have to do some positioning, check out the clear piece, see how all that's all going. I might just put in another thing of plastic like this, and then have to create little tiny light boxes for my SMDs. I'm going to use the really small ones, the 400s, for that. So, gotta wait for stuff to dry. I'll be back when I've got more completed. Alright, so I've been working on the neck. I got all my windows in place. This other side, I've got everything drying here. So move the hull back. Everything's drying in there. So, these clear pieces right here, those guys, those go right into here. They do not fit. So we put in another one of these pieces of plastic right here on either side for lenses for our LEDs. I'll be putting 2 LEDs in here, one in front, one in back. Hopefully, I don't know, I have to work with the angle of this because I want this first hole. Let's get a pointer. Let's use this. Alright, so I want this first hole here to light up kind of at an angle. So the first hole will light at an angle. The hole behind it, right there, will just light straight up like that. So I have to figure out exactly how I'm going to make that happen with these LEDs. Haven't got to that point yet. I did pull some other parts out. I pulled this out. There are 2 of these. There's one with kind of larger vents, and then there's this one with the thinner vents. The thinner vents are the refit, and I had to sand this a little bit and get rid of some flash, but now it fits in there pretty well. Get it in there. There we go. So that just fits in there like that. That, of course, gets painted black. It fits in there like that. Still pretty tight. And the other part I've been working on is this. It's our photon tube. So let's see here. It goes this way. These 2 unsymmetrical details go to the top. Took me 2 seconds to figure that one out, but so that goes in there like that, and you can see this little white line. Since I got overspray, I put this in here. I took some sandpaper and I just marked off the edge of the tube, so I knew where to drill my hole, and I just got that marked off in there. I'll drill that in a bit. What I just did was to get my LEDs sanded down. 2 red LEDs. Normal red LED won't fit in there, and I didn't want to drill that out, so I just sanded the LEDs down. And now they fit in there. Let's see if I can get that centered. They fit in there nice and snugly. There you go. There you go. They fit in there. And there you go. See, that lights up nice and bright. Same thing on the other side. Nice and bright. So, and these things fit in here so snug that I'm only going to use like a drop of super glue when I mount these, and then I'm going to light block behind them. So once I get my holes drilled into here, I'll be able to see what this looks like. So I'm going to not mount these. I'm going to mask this off. I need to mask off probably some Tamiya tape. Mask off these two. And when I get some light blocking on here, because as you can see, it transfers a lot of light through the clear. See all around there, lots of light. We need to block as much of that as we can, except for in front. So need to mask those off and get some light blocking on here. This is another gray piece, so this will get painted the same as the two pieces that go into here. So that's the update. I'm gonna get to work. I'll be back when I'm further. Alright guys, I've been doing a bunch of work on the neck. Let's put this off to the side for a minute. So I've got all my hallways on this side done, on the starboard side. And let's see. So we can show this off. See those hallways in there? See the little red doors? That's why they're there, so you can see them. Yeah, all those hallways are in, and the ones down there. See those down there. I'm still working on this side. As you can see, I miscounted, so I had to paint up a couple more. I miscounted. I thought I needed only 4 of these guys. I needed 8 of them. So I'm building a couple more. 1, 2, 3 more. I got one of them done over here. As you can see, they are pretty darn small. That's it for the hallway. I do light block the back, but yeah, that's it. It's so thin there. And the other ones are in paint at the moment. Move those over there. So almost done on this side. You can see those hallways in there. Try to get the light in there. Yeah, they don't look too bad. That one down there. So what I plan to do for lighting this is actually attach a strip of LEDs up here somewhere, I think. Or I'm going to do a 3-strip on this side and this side here. I'll have to think about that. Where I have a 3-strip. Actually, I have a wired up 3-strip right about here. So I could fit one in here. Yeah, I could fit one in there. Right about like that. And then I could fit another one probably right down like that. Right there. Let's use the completed one. See how much room I have. Yeah. And that should provide enough ambient light to light those. I will do some testing. If I don't do that, I'm going to put a 6-strip up on top here. Probably connect it to the bottom of these pins. So that's that for those. This over here. This has been a pain. An outright pain. It took about 6 coats of black to light block this stupid thing. I wish they would have not made this whole thing clear. I wish they would have just made lenses for the 2 ports there. That would have been a lot nicer, but no. So we're going to light these up real quick. I've just got them together for the moment. I can move this over here. Let's see. There we go. They lit up. So yeah, camera's going to blow them out a little bit, but yeah, that's what they look like. And I do have to light block the back. I don't want any red lights getting into here, although it's not very bright. Yeah, it'll still get in there. But yeah, that's what those look like. So that's done. I've been working on this back piece here. I have transparencies in here. This one dissolved. But yeah, those are done painted. I will have to mask over those. Still have to light block them a little bit. I'm getting a little bleed in these corners here. Trying to show it off on camera. Can't really see it, unfortunately, but yeah. So I have to redo this transparency. There's a red one up in here. Just glued that on the back side of that. So that is looking nice. Ignore this side. Just look at this side. Looks better. So that is that thus far. The only other thing I've done is tied all these wires together. So everything in here is now one big mess up here, but that's what I want. I still have to cut a hole in the top here, right in here. I had to do that before I attach it. So yeah, we'll have all our wires coming down through a big hole here. It's going to be probably go out to the edges of each of those pins and then back as far as the bulkhead. I want as much room as I can because I'm going to have a bunch of wires coming down from the neck. So that's where we are right now. I'm going to get back to work and I'll catch you guys in a second. Alright, so I got all my wires in. My pylons, at least. And there's... stop that. There's an excess of wire down here. I'll just cut them off. But yeah, it's a little too much, but that's okay. So yeah, we got all our wires glued in here. I didn't want to put them together, slap them together, and try to run the wires up through there. That would have been a pain in the neck. Or in the pylon. So I just hot glued them in here and squished them down. They don't even come above. A little bit of hot glue does, but yeah, plenty of room there. And let's see if we can get one of these together real quick or slowly. There. And as you can see, tons of room. Yeah, isn't that nice? So yeah, I'm ready to put this together. I also have plenty of wire up here to attach to all my stuff. So I color coded these guys just because I didn't want to risk putting a piece of tape on here and saying what it was and then have that piece of tape fall off. So the red and black are the mains. The yellow and green are our flashers, and the purple and green are for our warp. So now, no matter what, I will know what is what. So yeah, all I have to do is glue these together. And those will be ready to attach to our secondary hull. So I'm going to get these glued and clamped and let them dry. I think that's the last thing I'm going to do for tonight. So yeah, I'm going to get to work on that, and I'll be back in a second. Alright guys, this is all together. We got our pylons epoxied on. Everything's drying, by the way. These are epoxied on. I glued the hood here on. Forgot to cut out my hole for the wires, but that's okay. I can just cut it out. I don't think there are any wires right there. It'll be affected if I slowly cut a hole there. My bad. I epoxied this front ring on here. I'm going to be going... I also got epoxy all of my wires, of course, because of course I did. Yay! Let's hope these aren't all stuck together or something. Just finding little pieces of epoxy that's kind of sticking some of the wires together. Yeah. So, epoxy this. I'm going to go back in. I'm going to move the wires out of the way, and I'm going to epoxy around the inside of this as well, just to make doubly sure, because this is where we connect. I don't want this ring to fall off this. No, 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 no. So I'm going to epoxy from the inside. The outside, there's a little bit of a seam here, and I'm going to fill that with model glue, because I don't want this ring to ever come off. As I said, the pylons are epoxied in place. This is epoxied and model glued into place. This seam I thought was going to be much worse, but as you can see, this is not bad at all on either side. The only seam I'm really getting is right here at the base of the pylon and at the back of the pylon. I thought this would be a lot worse, but as you can see, not bad at all. And that would be thanks to Julian Drinkwater and his advice. Please don't fall over, because he really showed me how to get these in place, and this is better than I could ever possibly imagined when I first put these stupid things in here. Because this is nothing. This little seam, this little gap, is nothing compared to when I first put it together. There was like millimeters in between this and this and this. So yeah, I'm happy with this. So we still have to get our back in place. I have to fix these gels up. We'll get that in place. And our saucer pylon here. This little guy. I'm still working on this. I'm still waiting for the paint to dry on this. Ooh. Yeah, this thing isn't very balanced, so you gotta be careful. So I'm waiting for the paint to dry. I gotta light black it a little more. I gotta finish this side. And then it looks like I'll be having to put a lot of light strips in here. I'm gonna have to put at least 3 light strips in here. One on the top, one here, and I think one somewhere back here. Which means, and we have to get our photon emitter in place, which shouldn't be too hard. Which means I'm probably gonna run the wires from the neck. Actually, what I could do, because these windows are covered up, is run the neck. Just there's so much room in the center of this thing. Even with those hallways in place, you can see there's plenty of room. I'll just run the wires right through the center. I was gonna run them along the edges here, but I don't need to, because you're not gonna see them. So plenty of room to run our wires down through the center. All right. Well, I'm going to let this sucker dry over the rest of the weekend. And next week, we'll be finishing this. We'll be finishing the neck. I want to get the neck on here. And then I think I'm going to blast her with a coat of primer and start painting her up. So, whew, what a week. Got a lot done. Yeah, so I want to thank everyone for watching. You guys are awesome. I want to thank all my old subs and my new subs. You guys are equally rad. Until next time, you guys take care.